right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our live stream edition of Product Coffee. I'm Jason Brett. For those who I haven't met, glad you're here with us. And I am today sitting with Jay Dueskar, who is the CTO and co-founder of PrizePicks. And if you don't know about PrizePicks, this is an amazing story right here in Atlanta. Jay and Adam founded PrizePicks. What year was that?
2017.
2017, right? Like right before the world went to hell in a handbasket, and have put together a really amazing company. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about product management at PrizePicks, what they're doing, how they've gone from being a startup with just a handful of people, how they've grown to 170 people now, and how they're bringing product management into a company at a scale that is very different than you see in early stage companies in a lot of ways. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today, and we're going to talk about some other really cool, exciting things that are going on at PrizePicks. But let's get started. Jay, welcome. Thanks for being here. Let's start and talk a little bit about what got you excited about starting this company in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate you having me here as well, Jason. Excited to be here. So quick kind of primer on the beginning of PrizePicks. My co-founder, Adam Wexler, had been in the industry since 2014. And his original mission was pretty simple, which was he was a season-long fantasy player, like a lot of his friends and a lot of our peers, I think. And just understanding that the process was very cumbersome. It required a lot of work week over week. His original problem that he was trying to solve was how do we give the season-long fantasy players something simple enough to where they can get in and kind of electrify or add that excitement to tonight's sports viewing experience in the easiest, most low-friction way possible. And so Adam, like I said, started in 2014 and went through a series of different products experimenting to try to solve for that. Eventually landing on the concept of a single-player fantasy game, which we connected in 2017, and he originally pitched me on. And being in and around, I think, a lot of friends that enjoyed sports betting activities, playing daily fantasy sports, and just the overall sports fandom, I think I kind of instantly latched on to the problem he was trying to solve. Being a casual fan myself, I think it was a solution that we were trying to build for people like myself. So I think I was able to put myself in that seat and get excited about, hey, like, how do we kind of rethink the problem of, making the sports viewing experience that much more engaging and building essentially a simple, fast, fun version of a daily fantasy game that would, again, get somebody in and out in 30 seconds and have that much more skin on tonight's event or action that they were sitting down for. And so, I think that original mission really attracted me to the product. And more than that, I think what was exciting was the opportunity to build a big B2C brand out of Atlanta, which is, traditionally much more of a B2B marketing tech, cybersecurity town. I think Adam and I have always been personally pretty prideful and ambitious about trying to bring that big B2C win to a city. where, we've seen companies like MailChimp and some of the other big B2C successes in the past, Scout Mob, have successful exits. And I think we want to try to continue that streak for Atlanta.
Yeah, cool. It's great timing too. Atlanta, I've been watching, for those of you who are new to Product Coffee, while Product Coffee is a global community, I'm based here in Atlanta. This is home for me. And Atlanta is working hard to really move into that space of being a top 5 tech hub in the nation, and putting a lot of wood behind that arrow. So it's great timing for you guys to be hitting the world stage in such a really big way, and excited to help that you're helping on that mission as well. And I can totally relate. I'm a very casual sports fan myself. I really enjoy lots of different games, but I've tried the bigger fantasy games, where you do the season long, put together your team, and you have to get in and really dig around and understand things at a level that's kind of intimidating for somebody who is a little bit more casual fan like me. And so you've really hit a really cool market that helps you learn the game a little bit more and have a lot of fun while you're doing it. So it's a really cool product. So one of the things that you're doing now at PrizePicks that is really, for a company of your size and age, you're building a pretty respectably sized product management organization now, more so than a lot of companies your size. And that's really exciting and interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's driving that decision for you.
Yeah, it's a interesting evolution for sure. I think similar to a lot of, early stage high growth tech companies, originally our roadmap, and, we decided what we would work on or what we would build on, I think based on the hunches of the founders, the co-founders, the founding team, some very important and relevant stakeholders that had very good hunches in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just obviously get the table stakes features done, get to product market fit as quickly as possible, and making sure we're trying to latch onto the right KPIs and testing signal, obviously, on the right metrics that are actually moving the needle and moving the business. So I think we started out very similar to every other startup, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason that I personally have had a lot more urgency to drive a proper product management process in the company is I think a lot of the early stage people that we worked with having experience at larger product organizations and having the foresight to say, look, like in a couple of years, once we get the fundamental pieces of the platform out and into the product, like we're quickly going to be inundated with a big backlog with a lot of ideas. We're in a highly competitive space. We're in a highly commoditized space where, there's a certain kind of set of features I think you have to be competitive with our immediate contemporaries or competitive set. And then I think that's why innovation and kind of new features are so much more coveted in our space, because I think differentiation is really key for operators in daily fantasy or just larger, I think broader gaming, real money gaming, or however you want to frame it. And so, I think we had some people early on in the tech organization and that had significant experience in product management that were in my ear saying, look, like you're going to want to really try to create a product-led organization here, because there's going to be a lot of competing priorities between marketing, but between the operations people internally, between the commercial folks, obviously, as well. And so you want to try to create that kind of center of excellence internally where the stakeholder is product that's sitting in between all of those different departments, obviously taking a lot of that feedback and inputs from those stakeholders, but eventually hopefully making the right decision. I think one thing I think we've been intentional about from day one as well, and this is kudos to Adam, is very fixated on our mission and vision as a company. And ultimately that filters down to business goals, metrics and KPIs, OKRs that we want to set. And hopefully that's leading into our product roadmap prioritization. And so the mission that we like to kind of, hang our hat on day over day right now and really kind of reinforce is we want to be the ultimate second screen experience when you're sitting down to watch the event tonight. We want PrizePicks in your hand in some form or fashion because it's electrifying your sports viewing experience that much more. And so I think that can come in a lot of different fashions. But I think with that in mind, from day one, we've been able to say very fixated on let's get these fundamental things about the platform, right? Is it easy to sign up? Is it easy to do your KYC? We're a regulated gaming company, so we need to kind of adhere to some of these pieces. But can we make that as frictionless as possible? Because we know, and we've personally, a lot of us have been through the horrors of trying to sign up for certain sites and just go through that process. And if it takes more than 30 seconds, we're dropping off, right? So we've been very intentional, I think, and there's been some stakeholders internally, our SVP of revenue, Dylan, and part of our founding team that have been very vocal on like, we've got to get this stuff right. It's got to be a one-click experience, you know, and I love that we have that urgency and kind of passion for the product internally. I think that's existed from day one, and it still does today. But you know, I think going back to what I was saying, I think like that mission has always kind of led a lot of our prioritization. And to answer your question directly, Jason, I think like the reason that it's become such a priority for us to establish a good product process, a department, and make sure that they're seen as kind of the owners of that decision making ultimately, is because we just had the foresight, I think, to know that we have to manage these roadmaps and these priorities very, very carefully, very tightly when there's going to be a huge influx of ideas and you know, a big competitive set where we're looking at other people pushing out features, pushing out products.
Right.
Ultimately, we want to make sure we're making the right, you know, no pun intended, bets and being very intentional about it and building the right things, because we all know how expensive it can be to spend engineering and product resources and time on things that, you know, ultimately people don't use. So
absolutely. And your primary touch point is through an application, right?
Yeah.
So you've not only do you have the expense of development, you also have that risk component that comes with, I've got to submit to an app store and get approval every time I need to send an update out. It's not just, I can't just push code at a whim.
Yep.
I've got to make sure that I've got it buttoned up, and then we're making every review cycle count for something.
For sure. Yeah. We're definitely dealing with those challenges of just app store submissions, and it's hard to set deadlines when Apple or Google decides they want to do, you know, a more stringent review out of nowhere because we get a different reviewer.
Because they just decided. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Absolutely. Totally. But that, and that drives a need for a lot of product discipline. Yeah. So I want to invite, by the way, if you're watching the live stream, there are quite a few people out there watching us on YouTube and LinkedIn. Thank you for being here. Say hello in the chat. Tell us who's watching. Tell us where you're from. And if you've got a question or a thought or a comment that you would like to throw out here, throw it in here. If we have time, we'd love to bring some questions in from the community that's out there watching with us too. All right. So I'm just kind of checking the time here as well. And we're doing well so far. So let's talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that you've been doing in the product lately. What are some of the really cool, innovative things that people can get excited about when they're thinking about their own product management career and kind of looking at cool things that other companies are doing?
Yeah, I think there's two kind of sides to us. We've got a pretty unique organization. We were talking about it before, Jason, but you know, we obviously brought on kind of our head of product, VP of product, in 2021. So like you said, it was pretty early on in our life cycle to bring on a product leader like that and have them build out the organization underneath them. Mm-hmm. An interesting kind of move that we made about halfway through last year was start what we call our innovation department, or even new products is another word that we throw around internally, which essentially is a sister product organization to that core team that we started in 2021. Mm-hmm. And the reasoning for that was, last year, our mandate really became invest heavily in technology at the beginning of 2023. I think we were talking about this before too. We arguably, I think, ran too lean of an engineering and product organization. As much as we're trying to put the emphasis on that early on in our life cycle, I would say the one mistake we made was not doing it earlier on. Our growth severely outpaced our, I think, ability and kind of headcount, frankly, on the engineering product side. Post-COVID, we were definitely one of the beneficiaries of kind of that phrase pent-up demand, and we saw explosive exponential growth after you know, quarantine and 2020.
You held that head count down, to your point, for a long time. You were at like 40 people a year ago, right?
Yeah, we ended 2022 in technology across my 6 departments with less than 40 people, which was a very lean organization. Yep. But it's a huge kudos and testament to the quality of people we had, because we were juggling 10,000 different things, and we had world-class people that were able to do that and get a little bit of sleep at night in those early couple of years. But yes, 2023, our mandate became, let's really build ourselves into a true tech business that can be more proactive and start really leading and winning on product and technology as opposed to being reactive about it. Mm-hmm. And so we went from 40 people at the end of 2022 to about 170 in the technology organization by the end of last year. Mm-hmm. So 4 to 5x team size across all of our departments, which you can imagine comes with massive growing pains, but fun stuff to deal with, obviously. You know, we went from functioning as like one engineering team, and you know, our analytics department wasn't really broken down into kind of the sub departments that they are now. To now we've got 10 different product teams that are self-sufficient, working on different parts of what we call our platform. Analytics is now broken into business intelligence, data science engineering, consumer insight. So it's got subdivisions within it and really strong leadership at each level. And so we're becoming a more granular in the things that we attack because we have the headcount and the ability to do so. And I think one of the things that's been very successful for us is the reason it's worked out the way it has is we've got priorities on the core side. We obviously stood up this innovation department and have really tried to give them the resourcing they need to be able to execute some of these new products we've been working on without taking a focus or some of the resourcing away from the core platform, because we've got 1,000 priorities on that side as well.
Yeah,
it's been a really tough balance to achieve and a really hard thing to juggle all of that. But I think the reason we've been successful is because we've got leaders on both our core team and our innovation team, and Brian Huss, who you know very well, who's a member of Product Coffee and has been for some time. It works very well because we've got egoless kind of leaders at the table that really understand we're all rowing in the same direction. There's a good handoff between, hey, why don't you take this priority? I'll take this priority. There's shared services that we understand, both teams are going to have to lean on. And so the reason it's worked so well is because of I think the leadership that we've put in place and their personalities. So that's been very interesting, but yeah, that's where our focus has been over the last year, Jason, is continue to develop the core platform. We have so much ground left to cover on that side. By no means do we feel like we're done or it's on autopilot. Sure. We want to stay ahead of the curve, want to continue to stay innovative and obviously outpace our competitors on the roadmap and the functionality and the member experience is what we call it. We don't call them customers, we call them our members, because we want to provide that white glove 6-star experience, both from a product standpoint and an operation standpoint. And then on the innovation side, the reason we stood up that department was because, like I said, we wanted to become more of a platform. We recognize the position that we're in now. We've been hyper-focused on our initial game, our single-player fantasy product for 6 years. And because of the position that we're in, we're saying, okay, how do we intentionally start expanding some of this focus and some adjacencies near us to diversify revenue, to continue to grow the business, and give our members PrizePicks in different forms and fashion. And so one thing that we got to work on right away with Brian on the innovation side was our peer-to-peer game, which we call Arena, which we launched in January of this year and has been wildly successful and very encouraging. That's live in 8 states now. And that was what started off initially as kind of a response to some of the regulatory changes in some of the states that we were operational in, has become a great offensive move for us, I think, and saying, look, we've got this new game type that people really enjoy playing. And now we have a bigger platform where we've got our single player fantasy game live in some states and our peer-to-peer game live in other states. The other thing that we have one of the other irons that we have in the fire is esports is a big strategic pillar for us, something that we got hyper-focused on during quarantine and COVID because there's nothing else going on. So we just had to develop that expertise on how to create contests and projections around esports. And one of the things that we've been working on for the better part of the last year is this notion of there's no easy one-stop shop like ESPN or Action Network for esports research. If you're a daily fantasy sports player or sports bettor and you want to go do research on Steph Curry, you can easily hop on NBA.com, ESPN, Action Network, look at his player stats, team stats, last 5 games, last 10 games, and develop some sort of research to be able to go perform an action on that. That doesn't really exist in the esports world. It's extremely fragmented. Even when we say esports, we're talking about 6 different titles, which are essentially their own sports. So, there's a certain lack of understanding or resourcing, I think, in the industry, which there's, some stakeholders internally that have been very passionate about. And so we've spent the time, like I said, the better part of the last year, developing those relationships with the data providers. That is an extremely fragmented market, bringing all that data together and building a product where if somebody's interested in getting in or starting to dabble in esports betting, daily fantasy, gaming, they can basically hop onto the site and it's a one-stop shop to be able to do your research, consume some content, watch live streams, and basically develop that confidence and research around starting to get that much more entrenched in esports. And so that product's called the Esports Lab. We literally launched it last Tuesday. The initial response has been great and a lot of work to do there and iterate and continue to kind of develop and grow that community. But it's been an interesting kind of like case study, I think, to go back to your original question, Jason. And like we saw some really interesting metrics in why esports is so valuable for us. We think it's extremely underserved in the market. We recognize that LTVs of those customers are much higher than some of the people that are strictly engaging in traditional sports contests on PrizePicks. And so that's a perfect case study of like, here's a business case for how do we take this problem that we see of esports customers and members being so much more valuable to us, but there's not necessarily the education or community to serve those people right now. And so we took a thesis, developed a product out of it, have launched it in the last week, and now we'll be watching very closely if we can drive those specific KPIs in the right direction, because we've got this other product and we've got a very intentional kind of drive or call to action back into PrizePicks. So it's been cool to develop our essentially first new greenfield product after PrizePicks, stand that up and go from 0 to 1 again 7 years later.
That seems like a really, my immediate thought there is that seems like a really cool win-win, not only for your customers, your audience, but for esports in general, because by the work that you're doing to kind of aggregate those that data and those opportunities, it can't do anything but put more focus on the esports industry in the first place, which can drive new fans, which can drive growth in that industry. So that's a really cool evolution. So you're really not just impacting traditional sports, but and serving traditional sports fans, you're actually impacting industries and developing products right here in Atlanta that can help entire industries grow. That's really, really cool. So we had a question out there from Daniel Wilkinson out there who's watching on YouTube, and just curious kind of a little bit behind the scenes on the industry in general. He's curious about sports, what a sport or betting type on a sport that's performed surprisingly well for a USA-focused audience. So do you have some sports that get surprising attention on your network?
Yeah. I think the ones that always kind of light people's eyes up or widens people's eyes is when we talk about how well CS2, for example, does for us. We're talking about esports. Mm-hmm. CS2, obviously very popular title, probably one of the largest in the world, and it's a big FPS that a lot of people play, but there's also a big pro circuit, major league circuit around those sports, around that title. Big kind of engagement generator, revenue generator for us. A lot of people wouldn't guess it's like our 4th or 5th largest title at points of the year. Larger than baseball, larger than WNBA at certain points of the year. And so, yeah, to your point, Jason, like we feel like we have created a big inroad into esports and have been that operator that has really leaned into, the space where a lot of the other people have shied away from or just been a little bit too intimidated to get into. And that's, again, kudos to the stakeholders internally that have really pushed that. Our director of esports, Adam Boothie, has been very passionate about saying, like, this is an underserved industry and we would be very well to get involved and have that genuine interest in serving the community, serving the fans with real products around it. And eventually, hopefully our business will benefit from that as well. WNBA is another huge sport for us. We actually think we're driving massive amounts of tune into WNBA. So very excited to kind of establish deeper relationships with the league and the teams eventually. But the, basketball, playing basketball on PrizePicks is just so much fun because you're in it until the last second. It's one of the sweatiest experiences, we call it, on PrizePicks. And so I think a lot of our traditional NBA members, that interest has shifted very well over to WNBA, especially with NBA wrapping up. Summer is a big WNBA season for us. So we're excited that that's such a big cornerstone of kind of what's going on at PrizePicks.
Very good. Very cool. So, thank you. That is surprising and cool and really exciting. And so I'm looking at the time. We've only got a few minutes left, and I don't want to get away without talking about some of the continued growth. We talked about you've gone from 40 to about 170 people over the last year, and you're still growing, you're still adding, you're still building on those product management teams especially. Yep. And because at Product Coffee, we care a lot about product management. We're doing something, and I want to talk for just a minute about some of the product management opportunities that you have at PrizePicks right now, and where you guys are growing and what you're looking for there.
Yeah, for sure. We are hiring a ton of product people on both the core platform side as well as the innovation side.
And let me also insert, if you don't know, PrizePicks is opening a brand new headquarters in Atlanta. Yeah. And how many employees are you looking to have in Atlanta?
So we had a big headline that came out, I think, with the announcement that we're looking to add about 1,000 new jobs over the next 7 years.
Yeah.
So very aggressive hiring plans. And like you mentioned, yes, we announced our new headquarters. That's going to be, an awesome space in West Midtown over at the Star Metals building, which we're anticipating will open up late this year, or maybe January of 25.
And product management's a big part of that.
Product management's a huge part of that. We want to build a big presence, particularly in the product engineering technology organization in Atlanta. We have a great culture and great energy in the office. Obviously, we are 99% remote. We have that optionality to do that, but I think we want to build a presence in the office because there's obviously intangibles that you get just being shoulder to shoulder with PMs and engineers on a whiteboard. So excited to build that presence in the Atlanta office. And as part of that, we've got some pretty aggressive hiring plans, like you were saying. definitely looking to add junior, senior level talent on the core product side and the innovation side. I think one thing that I always say to people that are like interested at working at PrizePicks is, first of all, it's a fun job. We watch sports and build games all day. It could be a lot worse. I always joke around and say that. And so, but I think the thing that makes PrizePicks so exciting or working here so great is we genuinely have a culture of people that enjoy the subject matter that we're working on. To a lot of people, it feels like play. They're coming to work to really design and work on products that is really their passion point. Mm-hmm. We really see that passion come through in our culture. I think we've done a really great job of building a culture of owners and pushing that accountability down our organization. I think as leadership in the technology org, we're very intentional about the culture we want to create. Yeah. We're not looking to micromanage our people. We want ownership and accountability down the organization. Like I mentioned, we have split from one engineering team to kind of these 10 different product teams, which comprise of engineering managers, product managers, engineers, QA resources. And so at the leadership level, we want alignment around what are our goals and what are our metrics, and then we want to drive that ownership down the organization. And so one thing I think people really enjoy about working at PrizePicks is like, take your product and own it. If you see a problem, go solve it. You decide what you're building. You decide the prioritization as long as it's driving the right metrics and we've got alignment top down. I think that independence and that autonomy is something that people really, really enjoy at PrizePicks. And from a business standpoint, we've seen people run through walls when you give them that sort of freedom for us. So,
and that's really exciting for a lot of product people, Jay, because there's a lot of talk, and Marty Kagan writes a lot about the empowered and the inspired product teams, and people talk that game a lot, but they don't always deliver. And sometimes it's because they haven't got the culture yet. And it takes a massive cultural shift, but you've started with that view. Yep. And so, handing a responsibility to someone who owns a product and saying, okay, here's what success looks like. Your job is to go get success. Tell us how you're going to do it. We're going to support you in doing that, is not something that you see as often as people would like to believe that that's true. Yep. So that in and of itself is just super exciting. And I can attest, I've spoken to quite a few of the folks on your team already, and people are genuinely excited about the opportunities that they have at PrizePicks. And so that's one of the things that I've been really excited about partnering with you guys on, because we've got some amazing folks in our community, and plugging them in with a company like yours that's really walking the walk is just really inspiring for everybody in our community. And I want to plug a lot of people into that. I want specifically, we're doing a thing next week that is a really unique event. We're having this PrizePicks Product Career Invitational. And so what you're going to do, if you're in the Atlanta area, we're going to invite somewhere around 30 or so product people. And as you said, you're looking not just for senior experienced people, you're also looking for early career people. Yep. But we're going to invite people into your current office, which is really cool too. I mean, the new one's going to be amazing, but the current one's really cool. Yeah. We're going to invite people into your office. You're going to get to spend some time. You're going to meet Jay and Adam Wexler, co-founders of PrizePicks, and we're going to tour the office. And if you come to that event, you're going to get 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes, to kind of interview or have a one-on-one with Jay or Brian or somebody from the leadership team and product managers in the organization. You're going to spend some time with folks there, learning more about what it's really like, making a personal connection. So if you're looking for new opportunities and you'd like to be a part of something like this, you can come in and meet some folks, and you don't have to deal with any of this applicant tracking system stuff. All we want to do is we want to see your LinkedIn and give you an invitation to come join. If you're a product person that's kind of in this area and you've got a little bit and you're showing a little bit of a oomph in your career, if you got that passion, you're the kind of people that you want to meet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can follow that QR code. You can go to short.coffee/@PrizePicks, and that'll take you over to a page that we've set up that tells you more about the event. And you can sign up. Just fill out that little form on there. The only thing you really need is your phone number and your LinkedIn address. And we'll be inviting people in. It's next Wednesday. Had to think about it. Wednesday at at the PrizePicks office, and we'll tell you where that is once you get to kind of approved to attend, and we'll invite you in. We're also going to serve you lunch, so it's going to go from about 10 to 3 on Tuesday. You can leave earlier than that if you want, but we're going to start off with kind of learning about PrizePicks. We're going to have some networking activities for you to meet some of the other cool product people that have been invited to attend. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to learn more about some of the cool product stuff they're doing there, and expand your network with some really top tier people. Be a lot of fun. Would love to have you join us. Head over to the website and sign up for that. We've got about 2 minutes left, and there are a lot of questions coming in. And boy, there's some really great questions. I don't know if we're going to get to. I wish we could have more time, but let's see here. First of all, Jacob, is there any sort of remote option for those not in Atlanta? Unfortunately, no, there's not. You can still go in through the regular application system, and you can submit your application on that website to attend the event. But just note that you're not from Atlanta, so you won't be able to attend in person. They'll still take a look at your profile, and somebody will reach out to you as well. Katie, yeah, sorry. Good to see you on here, Ben. Alex Hart asked a question real quick in our last minute. Given the lack of a moat with many fantasy sports games, how do you stay ahead of the competition, particularly those that have been around a lot longer and have many more resources? Yeah, that's a short answer.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think number one, we've always tried to differentiate the product from a experience standpoint. Like, our product is pretty visual. The UI, UX is very intentional. We wanted to rethink what that experience looks like. It shouldn't be a wall of numbers like the traditional kind of product you've seen in the past in sports betting, obviously. And then even when daily fantasy, you were talking about playing DraftKings or FanDuel, some of the previous formats and salary cap, it's cumbersome. You have to know everything about every player. You have to draft a roster every week. You're competing against somebody else. And so the common complaint against those platforms was, look, I'm sick of losing my money to these optimizers and poker players. So I think a big differentiator has been just how we rethink the simplicity of the product. And then, yeah, I mean, it is a highly commoditized space. I think that's where we're developing some strategic IP internally from a data science and pricing modeling standpoint, which allows us to be more flexible and build some innovative games as we go forward. So we've got some cool stuff that I can't necessarily talk about right now. Some irons in the fire, but I think things that will be, kind of new things to the industry that we've been working on. It's definitely something that we stay focused on in terms of how do we stay ahead of the curve, because everything is pretty commoditized in our industry. So we need to stay differentiated if we want to be successful.
Yeah. That's cool. This has been great. We're at the bottom of the hour, and I know you've got a lot to do and get back to. You've got a thriving business to get back there and run. But I really want to thank you for coming out here and joining us in the studio and being a part of this. Looking forward to seeing you again on Tuesday. Also, if you're in the Atlanta area, we're having our monthly product happy hour tonight at the Village Tavern in Alpharetta. Go over to productcoffee.com and you can sign up for that. Jay, you're going to be there. You're going to stop in for a little bit and have a drink with us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Method is sponsoring that. They're going to provide appetizers for everybody who comes out. So go over to productcoffee.com and sign up and come out to the Village Tavern in Alpharetta tonight and hang out with us a little bit. It'll be a good time. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.